and thank you those who stayed here. I know it's a long day for you, and my name is Jana Bennun. For those who don't know who I am, I'm wife of Steve Bennun. And I really appreciate the opportunity to speak here tonight. And I usually don't like to take this job, speaking, because my English is not so good. But I had a very disturbing email about a month ago. And this was the email from one of my friends that I would say was my best friend. And she was a really big supporter of Israel, in like long years. And then I received the email, and this email had an attachment to it. It was a video, and the email said, "Dear Jana, well, I'm no longer going to support Israel and the Jewish people. Please watch the video attached." Well, you can imagine, there was shock. What? She is not going to, I mean, she was a huge friend of Israel, supporting Israel such a long time. So I took the time and I watched the video, and of course, that was a video by one pastor of an evangelical church that was explaining that Israel is the problem in the Middle East, and Israelis are apartheid state. It's an apartheid state, and that Jewish people are not really Jews because they're Khazarians, and they're not true Jews, the Jewish people who live today in Israel. Now, anybody sitting here that heard this before? Okay, all right. Well, I did, because we are getting, we have a lot of people, they love us, and then we have a lot of people that hate us. So we are getting these comments on YouTube, and I have to block about 10 people a day. But that was all. I blocked them and I don't deal with them anymore, right? But here's my best friend, and she's sending me this video, and she was able to be persuaded by that pastor of evangelical church, all these lies about Israel and Jewish people. So I wrote her the answer, and it was just one sentence, okay? I said, I am going to look into that, okay? So that's all I said. And I went on to my investigation. And I'm going to speak to you today because I love to study disease and illness. I'm a nurse by profession from a long time ago. And I always like holistic approach to disease. And I believe that we have a disease in Europe and America today. We have a disease called anti-Semitism. And what's sad, it's happening in churches, Christian churches today. And it's an epidemic. It's really going wild. It's like mushrooms after the rain. And I really liked this holistic approach to illness. I kind of like to treat symptoms, but I like to look at the source of disease, what caused it. So since I have this disease called anti-Semitism in front of me, I really want to know, who is the source of this information? Where does it come from? Okay? There is somebody among us here in Israel that is channeling the destruction of Israel. And it's going to Christians in Europe and America. So I decided to call my speech, "Does Israel have a battered wife syndrome?" You can see I'm a nurse, right? Okay. Oops, sorry. There are three kinds of Christians. There are Christians who unconditionally love and support Israel. No matter what anybody says, no matter what Israel does, who they bomb, what happens, we are going to, at the end of the day, and we might not always agree with everything Israeli government does, okay? But at the end of the day, when it's time to decide who I am standing with, I am standing with Israel. And there are Christians that hate Israel and they hate the Jews. And then there are Christians who claim that they love Israel. How can I make this bigger? Hold on. I think if you push up a little bit. Like that, right? Okay, sorry. So So there are Christians who claim that they love Israel, but their actions show otherwise. And the group of Christians, this number 3, there is a very small group of them, and I would say they are the leaders of Christians who are actually causing the number 2 group to hate Israel. Who are they? Well, I will tell you right now up front. I have done my investigation, and I found out that it is Vatican, and there are men, this patriarch and that patriarch, and this archbishop and that archbishop, that they have their people here in Middle East, not only in Israel, but Palestine and all over Middle East. And they are channeling this information to Vatican, and then Vatican channels it through Jesuit priests and so on to America and Europe. And they are bringing Palestinian views to Christian churches. So here is the source of the disease. This is who channels this information. This is what my research has proven, and I am going to try to prove it to you within the next 20 minutes, so you can see where I'm coming from. Giulio Meotti is an Italian investigative journalist, author, and a friend of Israel. He wrote a book called The Vatican Against Israel, J Accused, by Giulio Meotti. If you have a chance, order that book. It's available on Amazon, and it's worth reading it. Another thing I want to bring up to you is the book called The Kidnapping of Edgardo Mortara, written in 1997 by David Kerzer. And the filmmaker Steven Spielberg adapted this story for a movie. It's now in pre-production, and it's a historical account of a Jewish boy abducted by the papal inquisitor and converted to Catholicism. So watch out for that movie, buy the book, and then go see the movie when it's out. It will be worth watching it, because you will see what Catholic Church has done to Jews throughout history and what it is doing today. Has anything changed? But I have called my speech that Israel may have battered wife syndrome. So let's go back, and I'm going to explain to you what the battered wife syndrome is and why I think that Israel might have it and that Israel needs healing, okay? The battered wife syndrome, I'll call it BWS, develops in victims of domestic violence as a result of a long-term and serious abuse. It can result in a victim becoming passive and incapable of leaving abusive situation. It can leave the victim feeling weak and holding onto a hope that abuser will stop hurting her if she only pleases him enough. So basically it goes like this. Abuser engages in behavior that creates relationship tension. Tension explodes when abuser commits some form of abuse or violence. Then the abuser tries to fix the wrongdoing and apologizes. We call it honeymoon stage. And he's forgiven by the victim. And then this cycle begins over again and again and again. So keep that in mind. Now, throughout 1700 years, Catholic Church, I'm going to bring you some of the facts what Catholic Church has done. You know, when me and my husband have arguments, sometimes, not much anymore, but sometimes, he always tells me, don't look at the past. Forget the past. Look ahead. Look at the future. Look at the now and future. Don't talk past. I already asked for forgiveness. So sometimes I tell him, well, we sometimes need to look at the past, because our history sometimes decides future. And sometimes we can learn from history so we don't repeat the mistakes again, okay? So what has Catholic Church done? This is going to be maybe boring, a little long, but I'm going to read through it. Please stay with me. I will prove to you that Catholic Church has undermined Jews through its politics and statements. It committed violent atrocities against Jewish people Since the founding of Israel in 1948, Vatican has consistently worked against Israel and always aided and helped its enemies, created shocking and strange alliance with Islam, adopted Muslim narrative on Palestine, and ignored the fact that Muslims link Christians and Jews together as infidels. They have this saying, for Saturday people and Sunday people, okay? So making both targets for violence and repression. This is the historical pattern of the persecution of Jews, then church doing something nice to Jews, and then persecution comes again. Here is the cycle of battered wife syndrome. Okay? So, and it all starts with the church fathers of Catholic Church or Christianity in general, because when you go study theology as a Christian, you're going to study the church fathers, and they are well respected, and their views really matter in Christianity. So here we go, 200 AD, Tertullian, very important. In the De Oratione, he writes, though Israel may wash all its members every day, it is never clean. Its hands are always stained, covered forever with the blood of prophets and our Lord himself. 240 AD, Origen of Alexandria, important church father, says the blood of Jesus falls not only on the Jews of that time, but on all generations of Jews up to the end of the world. 306 AD, the Council of Elvira decrees Christians and Jews cannot intermarry, they cannot have sexual intercourse or eat together. 325 AD, conversation and fellowship with Jews is forbidden to clergy by the Council of Nicaea. 4th century, Christians, emperors of Rome decree that Christians converting to Judaism will incur the death penalty. Jews can't marry Christians or hold public office or own any slaves. 341 through 420 AD, Saint Jerome wrote, who do you suppose are the sons of Judas? The Jews. The Jews take their name not from Judah, who was a holy man, but from the betrayer. 400 AD, Saint Augustine writes, the church admits and avows the Jewish people to be cursed because after killing Christ, they continue to till the ground of earthly circumcision, earthly Sabbath, earthly Passover. 347, 407 AD, John Chrysostom, Archbishop of Constantinople, very important church father in Christianity, wrote 8 homilies against the Jews, where he tells them that Jews are lost, that God has deserted them, and that they can forget about any possibility of atonement. 414 AD, Cyril of Alexandria expels Jews from city. 425 AD, Jews are by law required to observe Christian feasts and listen to Christian sermons. 600 AD, Pope Saint Gregory decrees the Jews are not to be forced into baptism. In no way should they suffer a violation of their rights, but still they should not have excessive freedom. Now, I put it in caps because I want you to see that we have a nice Pope. Pope Gregory, he's defending Jews here, okay? He said, okay, we're not going to force them anymore. Do you see the schizophrenia? Okay, well, now comes 937 AD, Pope Leo VII appoints Archbishop of Mainz to expel all Jews who refuse to be baptized. Well, I just thought that in 600 AD, Pope Gregory decreed that they're not to be forced into baptism. Oh, just a few hundred years later, another Pope is forcing them again. 1078 AD, the Synod of Gerona decrees the Jews must pay the same taxes as Christians to support the church. 1096, massacres of Jews, First Crusade. 1182, Jews expelled from France, all their property confiscated. Oh, just a few years later, 1198, Jews allowed to return to France. We have threw you out, but now we changed our mind. Now you can come. Nice people. 1199, Pope Innocent III decrees Jews are allowed to worship in their synagogues. They are not to be forced to baptism, and Jewish cemeteries are not to be mutilated. Nice. 1215, the Fourth Lateran Council decrees the Jews are to wear distinctive clothing, and 3 days before Easter, they are not to go to public. 1227, the Council of Narbonne orders Jews to wear a round patch. 1235, 34 Jews are burned to death in Fulda, Germany on a blood libel charge. You know what the blood libel charge is? That they killed Jesus. Okay. 1247, Pope Innocent IV defends Jews. Again, we got this nice Pope. He says they are wrongly accused of partaking of the heart of a murdered child at Passover. He continues, they are deprived of trial and regular judgment in mockery of all justice. They are stripped of all their belongings, starved, imprisoned, and tortured. 1254 AD, Council of Albi orders Jews to wear a round patch. 1267, Synod of Breslau decrees compulsory ghettos for Jews. 1289, the Council of Vienna orders Jews to wear a round patch. 1290, Jews expelled from England and southern Italy. 1320, the Shepherds' Crusade, Jews slaughtered by smoke and fire. They committed suicide in despair. Their children were kidnapped, forcefully baptized as Catholics. 1350, Jews expelled from Germany. 1367, expelled from Hungary. 1381, expelled from Strasbourg. 1421, expelled from Austria. 1425 AD, Pope Martin defends Jews and forbids forced baptism of Jewish children. 1432, the Council of Basel decrees that Jews cannot obtain academic degrees. 1456, Pope Callistus bans all social communication between Christians and Jews. 1475, entire Jewish community in Trent, Italy is put to death on allegation that it had murdered a boy for religious purpose. 1492, Spain expelled all Jews from country. 1592 through 1605, Pope Clement VIII decrees a ban on all Jewish books. 1826, Pope Leo XII decrees that Jews are to be confined to ghettos and their property confiscated. 1904, Pope St. Pius X told Theodor Herzl, the Zionist, okay, I know it is disagreeable to see the Turks in possession of our holy places. We simply have to put up with it. But to sanction the Jewish wish to occupy these sites, that we cannot do. The Jews have not recognized our Lord, therefore we cannot recognize Jewish people. 1919, Poland passes Sunday law as a compulsory observation of Sunday as a Sabbath. It was with intention to force Jews to observe Sunday as Sabbath in addition to their own Sabbath. 1921, Pope Benedict XV spokesman said that they did not wish to assist the Jewish race to gain control of Holy Land because of the Jewish rebellious spirit. 1935-36, Polish Catholic Church gives full support to a government policy encouraging Jewish immigration from Poland. 1937, Austrian Bishop Alois Hudal publishes a book defending Nazi racial ideology. His book receives support of Cardinal Theodor Initzer. 1938, Pope Pius XI denounces anti-Semitism and said that we all are spiritually Semites. His comments were reported in newspapers, but not in Vatican's El Osservatore Romano. That was a nice pope. Yeah, do we see the schizophrenia? Back and forth and back and forth. Okay, here's the cycle of that syndrome of battered wife, okay? 1939, Joseph Tiso, Catholic Jesuit priest from Slovakia, allied Slovakia with Nazi Germany and reported most Slovakian Jews to death camps. He also declared, it is a Christian action to expel the Jews because it is for the good of the people, which is thus getting rid of its pests. 1941 and 45, we know it was the final solution takes place. 6 million Jews killed, and it all happened in Western Christian Europe. It happened without any decisive protest from church leadership, Catholic or Protestant. Okay, I got all this from that site just in case you are interested. It's this thick when you print it out. I almost ran out of my ink, but If you are interested, I just picked few, okay? So there is a huge history on that. Now, recent history. And now, welcome to the honeymoon. Guys, we have a honeymoon here with the Catholic Church now, okay? 1980, I'm just going to continue how things are starting to improve. German Bishop Conference is asking for a serious dialogue and end of anti-Semitism, which still lives on in many Christians. 1993, the Holy See establishes diplomatic relations with State of Israel. Well, thank you. He's only 45 years late. Okay, 1994, Pope John Paul II has many concerts in the Vatican to commemorate Holocaust. And first time in history, a chief rabbi of Rome was invited to Vatican to co-officiate a public function. First time in history, Vatican choir sings a Hebrew text in performance. 1998 AD, Vatican issues document called We Remember, a reflection on the Shoah. We wish to turn awareness of past sins into a firm resolve to build a new future in which there will be no more anti-Judaism among Christians or anti-Christian sentiments among Jews, but rather a shared mutual respect as befits those who adore the one Creator and Lord and have a common Father in faith, Abraham. So they're apologizing and it looks really good. Okay, they are admitting to their guilt, and Israel is forgiving. 2000 AD, John Paul II visits Israel. He pays tribute to the victims of Holocaust, and he leaves the following prayer at the Western Wall in Jerusalem. I'm going to go and read it because it's a beautiful prayer. Listen. God of our fathers, you chose Abraham and his descendants to bring your name to the nations. We are deeply saddened by the behavior of those who in the course of history have caused these children of yours to suffer, and asking your forgiveness. We wish to commit ourselves to genuine brotherhood with the people of the covenant. Isn't that beautiful? I think so. A lot of hope. He's all forgiven. Catholic Church is forgiven. Israel is happy, right? And the more popes come, after John Paul comes the Ratzinger, and now we have Pope Francis. So you see them with rabbis, you see them with Bibi Netanyahu. It all looks great, right? Okay, well, wait, not so fast. Strange things are happening in the background if you watch it, okay? Vatican relies heavily on bishops and clergy, Catholic leaders in the Middle East, to assess situation in the Middle East. This is what Giulio Meotti says in his book. Vatican's men in Israel and Middle East. Vatican has people here. They are telling Pope what's happening. What are these people doing? Michael Sabah, anybody knows him? He's not anymore. He's former Catholic Patriarch of Jerusalem. He held office from 1987 through 2008, and this is what he did. He praised jihad. He justified suicide bombings. He's the president of Pax Christi International anti-Israeli group, great admirer of Yasser Arafat. And this is what he said, I quote, "We will send them, Jews, away, just as we did the Crusaders." And he accused Israel of inflicting the sufferings of Passion of Jesus on Arab Christians. Patriarch Fouad Tual, I'm quoting some of his sayings. I quote, "A democratic state can be also Jewish. You can't have both democracy and Zionism." He accused Israelis of being the present-day version of Christ killers by referring to the Palestinians as walking in the footsteps of the divine child and likening Israelis to the King Herod. "We are not yet done with the present-day Herods who fear peace more than war." You know when he said these words? Then Pope Francis was here in 2014. And he said it right in front of Pope Francis. Please remember, he likened Israelis to Herod and Palestinians to the suffering divine child. And Pope Francis have added to his words, as you shall see later. Hilarion Capuzzi, former Catholic Melkite Archbishop of Jerusalem, he smuggled arms and explosives for Fatah terrorists from Lebanon onto Israel using his Vatican diplomatic immunity. I don't know if you know that, but if you work for Vatican, you have diplomatic immunity. You don't get checked at checkpoints. You can pretty much go anywhere you want. Okay, so that's what he used to smuggle the explosives to Israel. He was imprisoned, but upon Vatican's intervention, he was released. And after release, he continued pro-Palestinian activities. He gave a speech in Rome in 2002 where he said these words, I quote, "Greetings to the sons of Intifada and to the martyrs who will go and fight Intifada till victory." In 2010, he participated in provocative Gaza flotilla to break Israeli naval blockade. 9 deaths and numerous injuries have resulted. And the Vatican, guess what Vatican did? Do you think that they excommunicated him because now they're this big friend of Israel? Now they're the brothers, you know? No, they promoted him to further appointments. Okay, now I don't know if you've seen this, but on many Protestant churches in England and some Episcopal churches, they're portraying Jesus with a Palestinian flag, okay? So now there's a new Jesus out there. It's Palestinian people portrayed as the suffering Jesus. Palestinian Christians adopted Muslim view of Palestine. In his Christmas message, the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas described Jesus as a Palestinian messenger. In the same month, in 2013, PA's chief negotiator, Sabet Erekat, who had described Jesus as Palestine's first martyr, he said that Jesus was the first Palestinian after Canaanite Palestinians. In Bethlehem, during Christmas festivities, first Arafat, but then Mahmoud Abbas have extolled Jesus as the first Palestinian. Palestinian Christians must speak against Israel or they have consequences. And I can tell you that. I have interviewed Israeli tourists in Prague, and they have told me that they have their best friends are Palestinians. They had good Israeli friends, but they had good Palestinian friends, and they live in peace and love. They love each other. And the Palestinians love Israel because the women told me that they love the fact that there is a better health care on this side, better living conditions, and women have more freedom here than on the Palestinian side. But that they cannot say this, you know, in Palestine because there would be heavy consequences. It's the same thing with the Christians, Palestinian Christians. Okay, they just have to adapt that view or they face consequences. So many Christians are leaving Palestinian areas, which proves who the real oppressor is. And now only 2% of Christians are left in Palestinian areas. Well, Palestinians are compared to Jesus in many churches in Europe and in America. Christians embrace this symbolism of Jesus. I will give you an example. In Edinburgh, St. John's Episcopal Church displayed a picture of crucified Jesus and Mary. They were both dressed as Palestinians, and Israel was guarding the cross. That happened in a Christian church. Now, a lot of Christians are calling for boycotting of Israel. Christian political activists work through NGO, non-governmental organizations, under the allure of goodwill to all men and reconciliation. However, they advocate Palestinian solution. Now, how about Pope Francis? Let's go to recent history. May 24 through 26, 2014, he visited Jerusalem per invitation by Jews. Jews invited him to Jerusalem. During the visit, he addressed the rise of European anti-Semitism and said he was sorry that this is happening. He prayed at the Wailing Wall. he put a wreath at the grave of founder of Zionism. He visited a memorial to victims of Palestinian terrorist attacks at a special request of Israelis. It was not his original plan to do that, but the Israelis have requested he does that, and he did. And he spent a little more than half hour at Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial and met with 6 Holocaust survivors. And he kissed them, embraced their hands and kissed their face, okay? Now, these are nice gestures that Pope Francis did while he was here in Israel. And Israelis are very, very appreciative of these gestures. Now notice how he kissed on the cheeks and held hands of these Holocaust victims. But compare that to him kissing feet of Palestinians. Did you see how he kissed feet and washed feet of Palestinian, Muslim refugees? Okay. Now in Christianity, Jesus have washed feet of his own disciples. Bible doesn't say he kissed feet of disciples. He washed their feet to show servanthood and humility and love for one another. So Pope Francis went like extra way of kissing, not only washing, but kissing feet of Muslim refugees. So Pope Francis, is he a friend or foe? Well, let's look at what he did while he was here. Pope didn't land on Ben Gurion Airport as I did. Okay, he flew to Jordan on May 24th. That was first honor of his presence went to the Arabs. Most of May 25 he spent on Palestinian territory. Outside of his scheduled itinerary, he made a surprising and very unexpected stop in Bethlehem, and he walked to the Israeli security wall. He touched the wall and he prayed there. And it was the most captured event of this whole stay in Israel, widely publicized in Western society. British newspaper Guardian called it an emblem of the Israeli occupation and a symbol of division. On that wall where he prayed, where it was not in his plan either, he just decided to stop his motorcade and say, wait, I'm gonna get out here. And he went to the wall. And there was graffiti, and there was also said, Free Palestine. Now, you know, Pope Francis says that we are not to have walls, but bridges, right? That's what he says about Israel. But look at his walls. This is walls all around Vatican. I made 3 pictures here to show you so you can see, okay? Pope referred to the land and his speech as State of Palestine, never State of Israel. Pope called Abbas' office a presidential palace. Pope called Abbas a man of peace and peacemaker, head of Fatah political party, chairman of PLO, unity government with Hamas, recognized terrorist organization. During Sunday Mass, Pope prayed with Faut Tual. Remember Faut Tual? Catholic Palestinian Archbishop, and he added to his words. He says, who are we stand before child Jesus? Who are we standing are before today's children? Are we like Mary and Joseph who welcome Jesus and care for him with love of a father and mother? Or are we like Herod who wanted to eliminate them? Remember that 12 called Israelis Herodians? Okay. Pope called Mufti of Jerusalem, Sheikh Mohammed Hussein, a dear brother, and he embraced him. He called him my brother. Now, who is he? Who is Sheikh Mohammed Hussein? He's a dear brother of Pope Francis, according to Pope Francis. And this is what he said, the Mohammed Hussein. The destiny of Muslims is to kill Jews who are subhuman beasts and the enemies of Allah. Praised suicide bombers and encouraged Muslims to follow the path. This is quotation by speech by Mohammed Hussein aired on Palestinian TV January 9, 2012. He said, he cited hadith, the hour of resurrection will not come until you fight the Jews. The Jew will hide behind the stones or trees, then the stones or tree will call, all Muslims, servant of Allah, there is a Jew behind me, come and kill him. That's the Palestine we are talking about with the beginning of the jihad. This is the quotation of a man that Pope Francis embraced, and he called him his dear brother. Okay? Is he a friend of Israel? Think again. June 26, 2015, Vatican signs comprehensive agreement with the State of Palestine. January 14, 2017, diplomatic relations began with the recognized State of Palestine, and Palestinian embassy was officially opened in the Vatican City. Okay, no State of Israel for the Holy See, it's a State of Palestine. Israel accused of being apartheid state, Cardinal Roger Echegaray, and many others like Barry Morgan, Anglican Archbishop Wales, said the Israeli security barrier creates a geography of apartheid which provokes rather than controls violence. I have to go really fast. I have very small time, so I'm going to go very, very fast. Do you think Israel is an apartheid state likened to a South Africa apartheid? Baseless accusation. It's becoming accepted as a conventional wisdom because only few stand up to it. All people in Israel have equal rights. Arabs occupy prominent position in Israel police force, Knesset, Israeli judiciary. Okay, Palestinians and Arabs study and teach in Israeli universities. Incitement to racism is a criminal offense in Israel under Israeli law. Arabs and Israelis receive same treatment in Israeli hospitals. Hadassah Medical Organization in Israel was nominated for Nobel Prize due to its equal treatment of Palestinians. Yes, the newborns are both always together in hospitals. Little Muhammad is next to little Moshe, and he is actually treated or cared for by Muslim nurse or a Jewish nurse. Okay? Arabs and Israelis share the same amenities, beaches, buses, restrooms, drinking fountains, park benches, no discrimination. Again, it's a polar opposite to South African apartheid. There are 1.6 million Arab citizens integrated here among Israelis. Arabs in Israel have their own political parties. Arabs in Israel have more fundamental rights than Arabs in any other Islamic Arab country in the Middle East. Arabic women are considered equal under Israeli law and are protected by Israeli law against gender discrimination. I have to go, guys, but I have to tell you, to Christians that hate Israel, remember the source of rumors, who is spreading them. Visit Israel for yourself. Remember your roots. Okay, remember who is killing Christians. It ain't Jews. And at the end of the day, who are you for? Are you for followers of Quran or followers of Torah? Okay, to Israelis, you need to wake up from that syndrome, BWS syndrome. And I believe in second chances. I just don't think everyone deserves them. Okay. Pray for the